Hey there, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about the topic of looping through rows and looping through columns of a data frame to create multiple charts. So in the Pandas world and the Python world and the plotting world, it's typical to see one column or one row, mostly one column, plotted in a chart, and then you could see another, and then you could see a third or fourth, and you can add multiple columns to one chart and look at everything simultaneously, but it's kind of tedious to write all the code, and it takes a while, it's time consuming, it's prone to error. One alternative is to create multiple charts from multiple rows and multiple columns and run through each in an iterative fashion using a loop, and then you get the output of many columns and many charts, right? And they're not all combined together, but they're one underneath the other. So they keep on being appended underneath the previous one, which is kind of cool and very streamlined and very efficient too. So, and then again, in the Pandas world, sometimes you just can't create subplots. There's no customization for that. All control is lost at that level, right? But this method of looping through either columns or rows allows you to customize these plots and do some really cool, really interesting things pretty easy. So I created the data frame. This is just some made up data, pretty tiny, 3 columns, 8 rows, 9 rows. It's 0 based, right? 9 rows. So pretty small data set. Let's say we want to go ahead and loop through. We are looking at total expense and time. Okay, let me go back here. Total expense and time. And based on month, okay, or based on ID. Okay, so this is what it is. So we're getting the unique ID. Sorry to pause for a moment. I didn't use this for a long time. I just pulled this out of my archive. So we have unique ID as unique, okay, and we're using uniques as a list to iterate over. So for I in uniques, go ahead and create all the subplots. So we'll have a subplot for 1, 2, 3, those unique IDs, 4, 5, 6. And then 7, 8, 9. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So if you had to do this manually, you would have to write code to go ahead and get these first 3. Okay, plot that. So that's a couple of lines of code, and then a couple more lines of code for this. This is the next one here. And then when you're done with that, you can move on to the next task, which is writing a couple more lines of code to get this over here. So you can imagine if you have lots and lots of unique IDs in all these rows, it's going to become very tedious, very time consuming extremely quickly. But when we use a for loop, we can create all these charts in an instant. Control Enter to refresh. Okay, in 1 second, my charts are done. So I have total expense, time on the x-axis, and everything is split out by unique ID. So pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. Okay. So let's move down. Let's look at, this is one of my favorite data sets. If you've watched my other videos, you'll see I refer to this all the time. It's easy to work with, pretty meaningful, pretty relevant. I like things that are real world rather than theoretical or just academic. I like real world data sets. So this fits the bill. This is what it looks like. We have car related data, miles per gallon, cylinder displacement, so on and so forth, up to number of carburetors. So let's say we want to loop through columns and create a distribution chart for each column in this data set. So we have miles per gallon, cylinders, displacement, and the distribution, of course, is going to be somewhat normal distribution or maybe skewed left to right, bell-shaped, Gaussian, whatever the case is. And a couple of seconds here, rather than plotting each column with a couple of lines of code and apply the next one with a couple of lines of code and apply the next one and so on and so forth, in a couple seconds we can generate all our graphs. So miles per gallon, cylinders is pretty normally distributed. Displacement is left skewed. We have a couple normal distributions. One looks like a little bit Poisson or log normal. And then we have some highly left skewed charts. Okay, and that's fine. It is what it is. It's doing what it's supposed to do. I just want to illustrate the point of how to loop through columns and rows to get your data plotted pretty quickly and pretty easily, right? So that's useful. Let's look at one more example. Data frame columns again. Looping through the columns of the data frame. So I didn't assign a variable here. We're literally just going straight to the data frame. You could pull columns into a variable and loop through those items in the variable or just loop straight through the data frame itself. So Control Enter to refresh, just to prove that this does work. I didn't just like copy paste it or take an image or something, embed it into the sheet. So we refresh all that, and then we have the miles per gallon on a bar chart. No, wait, what's this called? Whisker chart? I think it's a whisker chart. And then again, we have the frequency distribution, miles per gallon. There's the next whisker chart, and the cylinders, whisker chart, distribution of displacement, and so on and so forth till we get down to the bottom. And we end with carburetors, right? You saw that at the beginning, and the bar and whisker chart, or whisker chart, I forget what it's called, something whisker. So that's it. I'll show you one more example. I have some Titanic data saved on my desktop here. I am going to load that, and then do another looping through, I believe this is columns, yes, for data frame columns, and create word clouds from all of the columns in that data frame. So here we see female, male. This is not a number. This is third, second, first. Those are the classes on the Titanic. Man, woman, child. The ports, right? I think that origin or destination. It's got to be one of those. Probably destination. And then yes or no. And that's it. That's pretty much it. As I look at this, I realize there's no key for this. So I don't know what the yes and no is. I will add that in, and I'm going to save this file as an HTML file and upload this when I post the video. So you'll have all the code. You can copy, paste, run it for yourself, pick it apart, deconstruct it, understand how everything works, reconstruct it, and I think it's going to be a fantastic learning experience. So that's pretty much it, guys. I promise to add in a little more detail to capture the details of this chart so you know exactly what we're looking at. Like if I go back up here, I just realized this is my own shortcoming. Okay, I have it there, so that's fine. I think the problem was with the first chart or something. Let me go back. Something looked like a little bit off. Oh yeah, this one. So we have time and total expense, but we don't have the unique ID. So I'll add that in before I post the code. Again, I'll share all the code in the video in just a bit. Thanks for your time today. Hopefully you learned something new. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.